UFC Vegas 90 returns to the Apex this weekend with a 6-fight main card with a few fights that kind of stand out. We're going to go over the whole main card right here, give you a little preview, give you our picks. Alex, let's start off with the main card opener.
Trevor Peek versus Charlie, the Purple People Eater.
The Cannibal.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Campbell. Charlie Campbell, he is the favorite. He's minus 210. He's 8-2 in his career.
1-0 in the UFC.
Trevor Peek's the underdog at plus 175. 9-1 in his career.
2-1 in the UFC.
There you go. Couple things I kind of noticed about this is with their win records and everything, they're similar fighters. They're
Both guys are going to stand and bang.
Stand and bang. But one thing digging into the not UFC fights, because neither one of these guys have a lot of UFC tenure, I noticed that Trevor Peek looks for takedowns consistently in his fights. He doesn't always get them, but he looks for them consistently. He's
Gives you
trying.
something to think about.
Right. So with him mixing that up, I've also noticed that when he secures at least one takedown, he typically wins the fight. The only fight that I saw he didn't secure a takedown, or he won like quick enough to where a takedown wasn't like even relevant, is his loss, and that was in the UFC's two fights ago. I think Charlie Campbell's going to win because through his UFC career,
his one UFC fight,
UFC and Contender Series, he's defended 4 takedowns.
Has he met a man like Trevor Peek though?
I think we'll see.
I think this is a pretty even fight. I like the matchup between these two guys. I think it serves for an entertaining fight because they're both going to try to stand and knock you out. Right. As you said, Peek does have the takedown attempts in his game and does get some takedowns. But both guys, if they had their way, they're going to stand and punch each other, which I think always makes for a good, entertaining fight.
And lightweights, that's kind of their MO. You know, all the smaller, not smaller guys, but like the 145s, the 155s, featherweights and lightweights, they are just bangers.
Yeah,
constantly.
And I actually disagree with you. I'm going with Trevor Peek in this. I think he gets the win.
You think he's going to get that takedown?
I think he has a little more power. I think he's going to get the takedown. And I'm taking Trevor Peek, the Alabama native, to get the win.
All right. Cool. Moving on, let's go to Valter, the clean monster, Walker.
The Brazilian.
That's a crazy name, Valter.
Valter, and then the mascot, the nickname, the Clean Monster.
Yeah, that is.
I guess that's I'm not taking steroids, which instantly makes me think, are you clean?
Or are you on the secret
juice? Yeah.
He's taking on Lukasz Brzeski. I don't know if I'm saying that right because he has consonants where consonants don't belong.
This is, yeah, exactly.
His name just all over the place.
He's from Poland. This is a fight. Walker comes in undefeated, 11-0, making his UFC debut. I think the UFC wants him to stay undefeated. I think they want to give him some confidence because they're giving him a guy that's 0-3 in the UFC.
Are we talking like roster swap?
I think like it might be roster swap.
You got Brzeski, who's 0-3-1 out of 4, including the Contender Series, so he hasn't performed.
He's been knocked out. He's been
defeated by decisions. Walker has 4 KOs straight. He's finishing 64 of his total fights. 64%, of his total fights in 2 different circuits.
One interesting thing about Walker, he's born in Brazil, fights out of Russia.
Oh, no.
So I don't know what to think of that. He's only 26. He's 6'6". Like I said, I think the UFC is kind of setting him up for success in this fight.
I gotta see something.
They want him to come have a clean fight, have a good debut, kind of get people excited. I think Walker comes in. I think he knocks Brzeski, the Pole, the Bull. I think Walker gets the knockout win, stays undefeated, makes people talk about him in his UFC debut.
Yep.
Kind of get the hype train going.
Yep, I agree with everything you just said. I think because of what Brzeski's shown in the UFC or shown to through the Contender Series and in the UFC, I think once Walker wins, they're just gonna kind of
one guy in, one guy out.
Right. Yeah. Walker's gonna earn his contract, and Brzeski is gonna be fulfilled of his tenure. So, yeah.
So we agree on that one. Let's move on to the next fight. I think it's probably my favorite name on the fight. The Chilean Ignacia Bahamondes.
La Huala.
As I said, the Chilean, only 26 years old, 14-5, 3-2 in the UFC. He is coming in off of a loss. He's taking on Christos Giagos, the Spartan. 6-7 in the UFC. So he's had a good amount of UFC fights. He lost his last fight, and he's lost 3 out of 4.
Yep.
20-11 overall. How do you see this fight going? There's a big age difference. 26-year-old for Bahamondes, 34 years old for Giagos.
So Giagos is 1-3 against fighters when he has the shorter reach. So if, like me and you fought, I would beat Giagos and you would beat me 3 times. I would only beat you once. So that's not great. Bahamondes, like you said, is coming off of that loss to Mr. Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein is, he's up there. He's
decision loss too.
He's on his rise, so I don't think you take too much away from Bahamondes there.
A learning experience. He had 3 wins in a row before that.
That's a great way to say it. A good learning experience for Bahamondes. On top of that, Giagos has only won 22% of the time as a dog, and this is UFC stat, so it's not like when he was, in his best
on his rise.
His rise. I think all of those things with just like we're talking about the learning experience from the Klein fight. I think that just means Bahamondes is going to win. He's already a bigger and in my opinion a better fighter. I think he's going to find a way to get the W, to be honest with you. I
agree with you. I think Bahamondes gets the win. 26 years old. I think he's a guy. He's learning. He's evolving. Coming off of a loss after 3 straight wins, a good chance to bounce back. And he's taking on a guy in Giagos who, 34 years old, has been in the UFC a while. It seems like he's kind of on the downturn. Lost 3 out of his last 4. So I think it's kind of the same thing where young guy getting better, older guy kind of staying stagnant. I'm picking the younger guy, Bahamondes.
Yeah, I agree. So the last one was lightweight, so that was 2 lightweights in a row, but another small guy fighter, featherweights. We got Morgan Charriere taking on Chepe Mariscal. This one's going to be fun because it's like a toss-up on the odds, number 1.
Neither guy's lost in the UFC. Charriere 1-0, Mariscal 2-0.
Right. But both are rocking. So Charriere is rocking a 3-fight win streak, and Mariscal's rocking 5. Both, extending into those regional circuits.
His last fight, a first-round body shot KO, which is always nice to see. Kick KO.
We like similar styles because it forces... It almost... In a similar style fight, those guys aren't typically going to wrestle.
Yeah, they're
going to fight, like just straight up stand up and bang, because that if you're just sitting there on the ground, one mistake, you're done. You're caught. At least in the fight, like a stand-up, you can trade for a while before some bad shit happens.
Mariscal, on his last fight, he had the rare, against Jack Jenkins, the rare verbal tap.
Yeah.
They counted as a TKO. If you remember, it was the card in Australia. It was when Adesanya lost to Strickland.
Yep.
Jack Jenkins, I think he got hurt.
But yeah, he's the mullet. The mullet Aussie.
Exactly, which that narrows it down. But yeah, I think this is a pretty even fight. I think this has the potential to be maybe the best fight of the main card. As you said, I think it's a toss-up. I think either guy could win, but I got to go with the Frenchman. I got to go Charriere. He's exciting. He has, as you said, he has a winning streak, although both of them have a winning streak. I think Charriere comes in. I think he gets a finish in this fight.
So I disagree. Upon looking at my data, Chepe Mariscal... even though it's slight underdog, he's won it as underdog before. He's only fought twice in the UFC. One of those times was underdog, so he's like 100%. I know it's not really the stat line to go off of, but this is more of a toss-up on the cards than anything. And I think, with everything, I like the guy with a little bit more, not more experience, but a little bit more UFC experience who... He's just faced one more guy. I think he's just got the little edge that he's going to need. So
another one we disagree on. I always like when we disagree.
Yeah, because then...
It spices it up a little bit.
It causes chaos.
So let's move on. Co-main event. We got Alexander, the Great Ape Hernandez. The guy 14-7 overall, 6-6 in the UFC.
2-4 in his last 6.
2-4 in his last 6, including losing 3 out of his last 4.
Ugh.
And he's taking on Damon Jackson, the Leech. 22 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest in his career. He's 5 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest in the UFC. Both guys coming in on a little bit of a downturn. Lost their last fight.
Jackson lost his last two.
Jackson lost his last two after winning 6 out of 7.
Right.
And as we said, Hernandez he's lost 3 out of 4, 4 out of 6. So really, it's which guy can bounce back, which guy can get their career back on track.
I think Damon Jackson's problem, honestly, with those last 2 losses is what we talked about prior, where you have that one dimension where you just kind of hunt that takedown too much.
Yeah, he's known as the leech because he has 15 out of his 22 wins submission.
Right.
So sometimes that can work against you, as you said, where if that's your only game plan coming in and the other guy knows that, he can
defend that.
That's what I'm saying. He can defend. He knows his whole camp is like, don't get submitted.
But you got to see, there's a lot of guys that come in facing the leech knowing he's going to do that, and they're like Khabib, they're rendered helpless. It's like, oh, damn. Like when prior to these 2, he won 6 out of 7.
6 out of 7 because he was choking people out.
Right. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? This guy's just seemingly unstoppable. I think now they have some tape on him, so they've started to figure it out. He lost 2 in a row. It's now up to him and this camp to have, not just the camp, but the time since the losses. What have you done to grow? Are you still coming in here with the same one-dimensional, but are you coming in with a one-dimensional approach? That's going to say...
Are you going to mix it up a little bit?
If you mix it up a little bit, I think Damon Jackson's going to win.
Can you get Hernandez thinking and not knowing what's going to happen?
I think that has been the biggest fault of Hernandez lately. Why he's been losing more is because they've made him... they made him question. He's been subbed in the past couple of years. He's been knocked out. He's been beaten by decision. Both of these guys have lost multiple fights. I think this is Damon Jackson's opportunity to kind of wake back up, if you will. Come out here with a better approach and have a good fight. So I think Damon Jackson's going to win.
I actually agree with you on this one. I think, as we said, we've been saying it, both guys looking for a chance to bounce back. I think Damon Jackson, the leech, is going to be the guy to bounce back.
Also, Hernandez only wins 37% of the time as the favorite.
So there's that. But yeah, I'm taking the leech. I think the leech shows him a little bit on the feet, then ends up getting a submission.
Boom. There we go. All right, main event.
Main event. This is the fight I'm most excited for, as typically the main event is.
I would hope.
The Louisiana native.
I would say that was a strange co-main. For a co-main?
It is, because I don't think it's not even close to second best fight on the card.
No, there's other better fights, but I don't know. Either way, we talked about it already.
But Louisiana native, Brendan Allen, all in, 23 wins, 5 losses. He's 11-2 in the UFC with 6 straight wins. He's been on a killer run, submitting the hell out of guys.
4 straight submissions.
He's 4 straight submissions.
Paul Craig.
When you submit Paul Craig, that's a...
Bruno Silva, Andre Muniz, and don't know his first name, but his last name is Jotko. Because I can't pronounce his first name, I should say.
And who's he taking on? But he's taking on the guy he last lost to, Chris Curtis, the action man. 31-10, 1 no contest, 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest in the UFC. As we said, they fought earlier. It was in December of 2021.
Yep.
Chris Curtis with a second-round TKO of Allen. Since then, Allen's been on a tear. He's been a new fighter, different man. Chris Curtis, I wouldn't say he's been up and down, but he hasn't been on the same tear since then. He's lost a couple times.
Exactly. He hasn't been able to put together the back-to-back wins. He's won and then lost and then won and
a couple, lost.
No contest or draw.
He hasn't put anything close to a 6-fight win streak.
No,
where Brendan Allen's in the position now, he beats Chris Curtis, avenges his losses. That's 7 fights in a row he wins. I mean, he's right there knocking at the door of a title shot.
I mean, if Brendan Allen wins, what's his rank going to look like? If he beats Chris Curtis.
So one crazy thing, Brendan Allen, as I said, 11-2 in the UFC, 7 submission wins. As you said, 4 in a row. But 7 out of 11 wins in the UFC submission, that's impressive.
Oh, my bad. Brendan Allen would stay 6th because Chris Curtis is 14th currently.
But he's still right in the mix where...
Man, I think Brendan Allen calls out Sean Strickland.
That would be a good fight, I think. He beats up his buddy. If he beats Chris Curtis is his friend, beats up his friend,
and then he takes on the internet, the guy that the internet hates, Sean Strickland, goes and subs him and demands a title shot.
But I think this is the perfect opportunity for Brendan Allen to prove he's a improved fighter. He's the real deal. He's a serious contender. Avenge your last loss. Still only, I don't know how, he's only 28 years old. It's crazy.
One interesting thing, though, Chris Curtis has not been subbed since 2014.
Chris Curtis is a dog.
Yeah.
He's durable.
I mean, he knocked Brendan Allen out.
He knocked Brendan Allen out, and that's always a possibility when Chris Curtis is fighting. That if he touches your chin, dude, there's a chance you get knocked out.
Imagine that drop. Like you're 28 years old, you worked your ass off, you're the 6th ranked fighter in the world. And then the dude knocks you out again, and you just have to drop all the way back down to 14.